Now the interesting part for me is that when you ride a colt like this, it can take your breath away simply because in your heart you're going, okay, how good am I? I mean, the talk's over. How well can I present myself? You've got that pond water demeanor where you're not emotional with your horse. So you've got this wonderful horse that you're going to have for a really long time. And it's a pretty darn cool feeling. So now I'm going to combine the stop, which will be my right hand, still holding with my left, and the backup. Bump, 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 bump. Hands low, bump, 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 and boom. Thank you so much. Okay, now I'm going to ask with my seat for this colt to walk backwards. If I get the nose and I get the vertebrae, I get the back to come up. You watch it load up. Thank you so much. Now, if you would please, I need you to walk backwards. Thank you so much. Take another step if you would. Thank you. You're fine. Don't worry about it. That's chapter 3. Get it? Now, you've got a year minimum to get all this stuff really good. Bueno? So this horse being what it is, I'm going to drift the hindquarter. It's not a Dublin. It's not a one-rein stop. It's not rear-end front-end. It's drifting the hindquarter so I can talk to the back end. I keep telling you about putting the weight on the back end. Well, there's times when you need the weight on the forehand so you can move the hip over. All this knowledge I have comes from loading semis. Whenever people tell you about cowboying, they always talk about Brandon. Brandon, to me anymore, I don't even like it. It's gone that far. Shipping is where you find out who's mounted. My goal as a youngster was to get good enough where when we shipped cattle, 7 guys held a gate, 2 guys were horseback. I got to where it was 1 guy horseback, and that was me because I took the time to really get good at this, and the guy knew that I could load trucks. That's my incentive. You know, people go to the world and they go to the national whatever. In the cowboy world, if you can ship cattle, because that's payday, see? And if you can have a 3% shrink instead of a 5% shrink, you just made the ranch several $1,000s when you're shipping 18 semis. Get it? It's all math. Now I can start talking with my seat bones. Outside leg, loose rein. Now, you guys got to understand, this is not a trick. He's already got this on this horse. I didn't put this on here. It was already there. All I'm doing is showing him how to refine it. So when you're doing this homework, Tom, you got to see the ears do that. We're not worried about where the skull is. When the ears start doing this, that means they process that thought. When you ask a horse to do something and they pin their ears back, like cross-water, or step over that log, a lot of them will put their ears back. So you cross the log and they still got their ears back because you made them. So now you drop the reins and you wait, and pretty quick they see a bird and they flick an ear over there. They miss their buddies. They look over there. They process that thought. If you keep crowding them, you keep overwhelming them, they're going to get mad. They're going to get resentful. I believe that you can make a horse not accepting any rudeness. You can make a horse and never have resentment. Here's another way on your reins when they're longer. You drop it to the inside. My left leg is completely off now. I've introduced that. Remember I told you tighten these muscles? The impulsion is my right foot. Now I'm going to change directions. Bump. There's that jawbone I was telling you about. See the brace? Inside leg pushing out. There. Change. There. Now, all I have to do, because this is what Kathy and Casey can tell you, is they learned when they sat down and exhaled, them horses stopped. One's a warm blood and the other one's pulls a wagon with antiques on it in Ireland. And they do just fine. Here's my timeline on colts. A colt this age, for me, if I took an hour ride, it would be 5 minutes of schooling going out and nothing coming home. You've got to stop, to turn, to back up, and you're headed for collection. I'm going to drift the hindquarter, and then I've got this horse where I want it. And all those things will be worked on intermittently. So now, I'm going to raise, reach back, and drift and let my horse go. Short rein. I'm going to raise, reach back, drift, and let my horse go. Bump, drift, let go. So that's, there's no big cloud of dust in this thing. This is it. Now, is there any questions about it, Tom?
No, I think I get it.
Okay. Would you bring me that Bosal? So I consider myself a reinsman. Me, Buck, Martin Black, Bruce Sandiford, everybody that does this is in a line. Every single one of us is going to tell you a different story. And all you've got to do is listen to every one of them. Oh, by the way, watch how their horse rides, and then decide. It's not a one recipe deal.
I heard of someone who makes spade bit horses in 100 days.
Really?
Well, there you go.
Well, it is a big lever if that's the way you want to ride it.
I forgot their name, and they're Mustangs.
Must be a hell of a hand.
Just keeps them from bucking. That's why a lot of, in Mexico, they use spades on mules to keep them from bucking and taking off.
Deb just brought up a good point. I have never met a vaquero from Mexico, and I rode with a lot of them. I've never met one that could tell me about a spade bit. Because culture-wise, the only thing a spade was used for was machos. It was to keep mules from bucking. So the exact opposite end of the scale is the California style, and that's making a bridle horse. So it's not culturally a Mexican tradition.
No, you use friend over there.
It's a California tradition. Yeah. Tom, where you at? Come here. If you guys are curious about a Bosal, you're welcome to come up here. Now you notice the ridge. This is that Hancock ridge. Doesn't have the sheep head like my horse, but what I would do is I would elongate this. If this was mine, I would close this gap as much as I could. The reason I would close that gap is because there's no contact here. You want it to fit just like a hat.
How do you change that?
You wrap it in hay string. 1995, I got the special string.
You didn't watch our most recent YouTube video,
I
apparently.
haven't seen it.
Maybe he didn't have power.
So Tanako, my
There you
colt,
go. There you go.
my colt's got a head this long, but that wide. So I'm closing the nose band first. My Bosals have a plug in the back end of them. The way that my colt is made, he's not going to get it for another year and a half, my colt. But I started now because I wanted people to see how I do it. What I want to show you is, here's that spot. For those of you that haven't seen this, you need to look at this if you're at all interested in a bridle horse. Now, everybody sees it, right? All right, now I'm going to show you how it works. Watch. See that? That's a signal. This is the lever. If I go to the bone, which is there, it's a lever. What you want to do is train a horse off of the signal, not the lever. Well, this particular Bosal, the way it's set up, isn't correct for this horse. That's too much drop. See, I would narrow that down because I don't want that much drop. if this was yours, you would have to get it to fit. Now watch the horse. Keep an eye on that spot right there, you guys. Thank you so much. That's how it works. Get it? Okay, I'm not sitting on its back, and that's the very first time it's felt that, so it worked. The horse is going to get fast outside. You're going to go to the bone. It's going to happen. But the idea is to bump and disengage them instead of pulling back. You never, ever, ever pull back with two hands on a Bosal. You can get away with it with a snaffle, because I do teach them to back up. But there's the deal. See the nose bend? Watch the nose bend. That's what you want to keep, okay? That's not going to stay, but it'll come back. They go through it, handy. Bad day, good day. 5 years later, they can back the truck up, hook up the trailer for you. Now, I showed you earlier about putting life down the rein. I'm going to pick up this rein on this side. The weight of the rein, the Makati, that's why we do this.
We're gonna be. I'll figure it out.
As we all know, the diameter of the Makati should match the diameter of the Bosal. This is nothing. When I touch it, it means, excuse me. That's a polite way to ride a horse. Wait. Watch the right ear. Thinking. See that brace coming in that jaw? There's the ear, there's the skull. Bueno? Now, Tom, if you're like me and like everybody standing here, you're like, oh my God. Well, too bad. You want to make a nice horse, you got to step up. That's all there is to it. These horses are sensitive. It's people that aren't sensitive. So it gets over the novelty of this, which is this, and then you can go to work. Okay, so you do it in hand, and then you get on. Questions?
Nope.
Now, what you don't do, if you can avoid it, is I never lead my horse with a hackamore. I try to ride to where I'm going to get off, because it's one of the things to me that makes a horse bad in a Bosal, because you're doing the opposite of the way it's made. They do this, and then you're ending up pulling the wrong direction. So what there's ways to tie the reins and everything else, but what I try to do is I try to ride right up to where my halter is, and I get off and I put my halter on. I very seldom lead a Bosal horse.
Now, will you just say again how you would change this Bosal to fit
The
her?
nose bend is too wide. There's too much air under here.
Okay.
You've lost half of the signal. I want the whole thing to be touching the nose, so when it moves, all you got to do is wrap this right there with hay string, and it'll close it.
So it's more oval.
Yeah, it's a long oval.
Yeah.
Just like, this we're going to have to cut off.
Do you want to mention the length of the Bosal too, so Tom knows?
Well, this is 10.5 on the inside, from the inside of the nose to the inside of the plug. And see, historically, I talked about it yesterday, but all the old day hackamores, most of them were right up here on the Broncos. And the way they worked was you'd get a horse's head swelled up from hitting the end of that rope, to where when they tried to buck, they were sore. They'd throw their head up. It was all about living through the day. And we're talking the 1800s, see? There was no art form. And I say no art form. You're talking Wyoming, the plains. Okay? Then guys out of, can't even say it, Texas, that trailed cattle north. Well, okay, that's a different deal. Now, the guys in California, good weather, they killed all the Indians with venereal disease and sugar, so they didn't have anybody to fight with. So they took the time to make good horses. They were sons of dons. They had time. They had a whole bunch of slaves doing the actual work. So that's why it's a California tradition. and I defend Texas and Florida and all those other states because they didn't have what we got here. They were in survival mode every single day.